27 degrees at the moment. Fine is the forecast. Track temperature 36, but it's a little hotter in the Super Cheap Auto Garage. Paul Dumbrell's car number 20 on the warm-up lap has been dropping oil pretty much all the way around the circuit. Dumbrell is out of the car and very, very dejected. And I can tell you, Neil, that the other guys on the grid are not very happy because they're wondering about just how much oil has been left behind.
Well, that's an indication. Lots of it all around the racetrack. Many drivers talking about how much is on the race line. Paul Dumbrell unaware, of course. They're trying to use oil soak to solve the problem, but drivers are being warned to be extremely careful on their first racing lap around here, because clearly you could make a mistake on that and get yourself in lots of trouble.
They're lining up down the main straight. The problems will start for them the exit of turn 4 as they head back up towards the other side of the circuit, the beach on their right.
Green flag.
So now as they go for an installation, a warm-up lap, we'll take a look at the Fusar grid for this race. This is how they finished. Race 1, Tander went from pole to victory. Jamie Whincup had a super fast car and he went all the way. His teammate Craig Lowndes 3rd. Russell Ingall 4th. It was a fantastic battle between the enforcer and the Kiwi, Greg Murphy. And at the end, Ingall just got him by a fraction. In fact, Murphy thought he'd got him, but the positioning of the checkered flag as opposed to where the finish line was a little bit out of whack. So Murphy ends up in 5th position. Dean Canto and Jason Richards start side by side, 9th and 10th.
Yeah, just to further explain that, the control line where the timing loop is in the road is a different reference point to the location of the checkered flag, and so those two fellas had a great run all the way to the end, and in the end, of course, it fell in Russell's favour, but it was so close. Looking further down the order, Steve Owen and Jack Perkins there. Steve Owen's had a pretty good run so far this weekend. Mark Scafe has had a shocking run. Found the wall on the outside of turn 10, as you saw before, tripping this fellow over, Mark Winterbottom, along the way. These fellas at Ford Performance Racing finished after midnight last night. Damage to a front rail, damage also to the diff housing, and lots of work. Paul Dumbrell, of course, in the pit lane at the moment, not taking his spot on the grid. Some brake issues yesterday for Owen Kelly in the Team Sirime Wines entry. If you didn't join our telecast yesterday, Owen is going to run car number 39 through the balance of the season now, the remaining meetings. Todd Kelly, they had a steering arm problem in the HRT car. All of a sudden, the steering was half a turn out on the steering lock. Just reported to his engineer Matthew Crawford that suddenly began to feel strange. They had to park the car. These fellas both in strife as well, both of them in the wall in the Team BOC entries. Lots of money spent, and I should also make mention of the fact again, unfortunately we do not have Brightech here today in the Fujitsu car. Jason Bright out of business.
After the heartbreaking did not start at Bathurst for Super Cheap Auto, we can tell you that with Paul Dumbrell's car, all it has done is dropped an oil line, but you saw the smear right around the circuit. It's left a lot of debris behind, and here in pit lane it's puddled well and truly. No engine dramas. Of course, they did replace the engine on Friday. They had some oil pressure problems, but nothing mechanically wrong with the engine. But it seemingly looks like the engine dramas for Super Cheap are continuing. He won't partake in this race because there's just way too much oil in the engine bay. She'd be a walking smoke machine.
Boys, you spoke earlier about Greg Murphy's great result yesterday. He is just walking around on his tippy toes at the moment. He's very happy with where he's at. They've been working all season with the rear end of his Commodore now. What they've managed to do is finally sort out the combination of dampers and springs. Murph says they've really found the sweet spot at last, and it's given him a new lease of confidence, and that's what you saw yesterday. He's looking forward to evening the score with Russell Ingall today, but he is a brand new Greg Murphy for this season on the track at the moment.
Russell Ingall is so confident in the pace of his car that I think he'll play a slightly different strategy today, possibly running a little longer as we go on board here with Mark Scafe. Back onto the Fujitsu car and Brightech, and it's a $500,000 year-to-date bill so far for damage for those guys. That car, we saw it last night being loaded onto a flatbed truck, being taken up to Brisbane for some open heart surgery, and then they'll take it back to Melbourne and work on it in the workshop in the next couple of days, because the teams have got to fly their crews across to Bahrain next Sunday. The cars will fly out of Avalon between Melbourne and Geelong next Monday, so they've got very little time to turn it around, and it's certainly very disappointing for those fellas. As we go on here with Stephen Richards, what a run yesterday. Tagged the wall at the braking approach to the pit lane entry for his compulsory pit stop. He just completely blew it. I spoke to him last night. He just said, mate, I just lost where I was on the racetrack, and I had to bring it to a stop because I knew I would blow through the speed limit. When he did it, he locked the rear brakes, tagged the wall on the right, did damage to the car, And then his whole race really unravelled from that point. He got tangled up with Jason Bright a couple of times. Jason Bargwana propped at turn 12, and there was just aggravation down the order.
There's Rick Kelly, dropped from 3rd to 4th in the championship after race 1. A flip between the Toll HSV teammates. Whincup leads the championship. Lowndes is 2nd, Tander is now 3rd, and Rick Kelly is 4th. 27 laps, 120 kilometres, 30 starters for this race. It's Tander versus Whincup on the front row. Lowndes and Ingle on the 2nd. Murphy and Courtney row 3. Ingle got a terrific start yesterday.
Greg's weakness yesterday was coming off turn 12, and he hopes he's made a couple of adjustments to fix that today.
So here we go. The V8 Supercar Challenge. Check that out from Garth Tander, straight out the box. No messing about it. He will lead them down to turn 1.
What a launch from Tander. He just got instant bite and just disappeared down the road. Fantastic start. Trouble back in the mid-pack here. And it's one of the Jim Beam cars, and I think with one of the Gary Rogers Motorsport entries. And so far, everybody else surviving. That one, Dean Canto, it was in car number 34.
And Stephen Johnson.
Jamie Whincup to 2nd, Russell Ingle to 3rd, then Craig Lowndes, James Courtney. Rick Kelly quietly achieved yesterday. More trouble, Alan Gurr backing up here into turn 3, arriving sideways. Someone getting stuck into him along the way, and very fortunate not to end up rubbing down one of those concrete walls. Gets away with it.
Started way back, pretty much at the exit of turn 2. Normally they go so deep into 3 they end up in the runoff. That time Alan Gurr was ending up going in there backwards. So Tander brings him up. Whincup's there. Ingle's got in front of Lowndes.
Tyre management is an important issue in these 3 races this weekend. 12 tyres allocated, 3 sets. Races a little longer than they were last year. 120 kilometres, 27 laps, and isn't that a fantastic shot heading northbound? Main Beach Parade past the turn 7 chicane complex. A little trouble there for Steve Owen, running wide on the braking approach to turn 8.
Good news is from turns 4 onwards there doesn't appear to have been any trouble with that oil line and the problem that Paul Dumbrell had on the installation lap.
Well, Steve Johnson and the Jim Beam boys very disappointed in Dean Canto. They feel that he turned Steve around. They're going to bring Steve Johnson in and take a look at the damage.
Off the start, an amazing launch from Garth Tander. About midfield probably there was a bit of contact, and here Dean Canto almost found himself.
Well, both the Jim Beam cars were wrapped up in that one. It's a little bit hard to see who did what to who, because 3 into 1 definitely does not go at the turn 1 chicane. Sorry, the turn 2 chicane. And it's typical of the sort of incident we see down there. Let's have a look at this one from the other angle here. You'll see Alan Gurr arrives pointing in the wrong direction. One of the Team BOC cars was involved in that. He actually did make contact with the wall. I didn't realise that he'd given it a rub. And reasonably solidly so. 158.6 for Garth Tander. And it was a 1 second margin. Look at him disappearing.
Super start. That's pretty much start at the end. Here's the damage to the Irwin Tools entry.
And that's what Brightech do not need. They've been working 20-hour days since Bathurst to get their cars up here. So another car to repair this week before the trip to Bahrain. Jason Richards, he's down the order in 8th at the moment. I made mention of Rick Kelly before, and Rick yesterday creeping into the top 10, keeping that championship alive. We'll talk a lot about championship in the remaining rounds now of this series. From this race on, 200 odd points available, and it's a real seesaw battle between Tander, Whincup and Lowndes at the top of the points table.
Bring that rear bar up a click or 2 if you need more front, mate.
That lap for 152 from Tander. The quickest of the top 3. Russell Ingle 152.5. Another good start from the enforcer. He did it yesterday. And the only thing he couldn't do was thread the needle. He was snaking up behind them. And this time he got one position off the start, off the man we're on board with, down towards turn 3, Craig Lowndes.
Car number 5, Mark Winterbottom, race director, is looking at loose rear bodywork on that car. Ingle 52.5, as you say, third. Very confident with the behaviour of that car last night after he'd finished his early evening debrief.
Jason Bright, this team manager business is tough stuff.
We just can't take a trick this year, can we? I mean, after the week the guys have already had preparing the car after Bathurst, and the 2 days that we had in the lead up, to see this on the first lap of this race is pretty heartbreaking. The guys, I feel sorry for them. Well, they've just put in an amazing couple of weeks to get both these cars here. So we'll have a look at it and see if we can get it back out there for the next one.
Your car's already gone. It's a tight turnaround to Bahrain. Can we make it there?
Well, yeah, I mean, we just didn't have an option last night. We had to send it up to Brisbane and get it on the jig up there, and it's being worked on today and tomorrow. Hopefully we'll try and get it back to Melbourne on Monday night, and the guys will have a busy week ahead of them to get it all fixed before Saturday.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, cheers.
One of the movers through the field at the moment is Mark Scafe. Made up 5 positions from the start. He's up to 12th now. And is also putting down good sector times, but so too, obviously, with a clear run, Garth Tander. Looking out the back of Rick Kelly's car on the Greg Murphy.
51.7 for Garth Tander on that lap. Looking at this lap speed and remembering that they're starting with 80-odd kilos of fuel and a mechanical black flag for Mark Winterbottom, car number 5, loose rear bodywork for the Ford Performance Racing entry. Oh, trouble here for Will Davison, tagging the wall. I think that's at turn 8, the northernmost point of the racetrack. He's locked the rear brakes just at the turning point with Winterbottom behind him. In fact, the driver that I just spoke of who'll get a mechanical black flag this time through. Jamie Whincup, second.
Well, yesterday we saw the most unusual circumstance of Stephen Richards crashing on pit lane entry. Boys, we could be in for a little bit more drama once the pit lane becomes active, because take a look what's coating the pit entry. It is as dirty as a country dirt road at the moment. Kitty litter everywhere. Obviously, that's the substance that's used to soak up the oil from Paul Dunbar's Holden, but what's left behind is an ice skating rink on approach to the pit lane. They're coming from quite a high speed. That is a dangerous approach and as slippery as a Gold Coast used car salesman.
And fluids being reported dropping from cars 17 and 18 at the moment. Stephen Johnson and Will Davison, possibly as a result of what happened to Will there a moment ago. So race control looking at that. Incidentally, the fastest lap of the race has just been done by Andrew Jones, down the order, but pretty speedy at the back of the pack. 51.3, 1 minute 51.3. He's 28th in the field at the moment.
There's Winterbottom from 29th in race 1 up to 20th. Of course, was on track for something a little bit better than that. And there's that damage that you're talking about to the rear of the Orcon Ford Credit Falcon.
Fastest first sector split of the race so far, Garth Tander of 49.8. Still holding about a 1.5 second margin over Jamie Whincup. That brand new car that Whincup's driving has been behaving really well. I spoke to him last night and he's so relaxed about its behaviour and performance. Very easy to tune, nice car to race, and he rounded up Craig yesterday, who wasn't quite as happy with the balance of his car.
Neil, very busy here in the Ford Performance Racing Garage. Team boss Tim Edwards is with me. Tim, do you know what's happened to Mark Winterbottom?
Yeah, someone's run into the back of him, and it's just there's a little cosmetic strip underneath the back bumper that's hanging down. So obviously we're going to bring him in on the next lap.
Been a tough weekend, mate.
Yeah, we're getting involved in everybody else's incident, so I think, all those stories about Chinamen and black cats and things like that, I think they're all true.
All right, mate, hope the luck picks up.
Let's go for a ride with Craig Lowndes. Team Vodafone 888 car, 4th on the road. In front of him is Russell Ingall. turn 4, WPS turn onto the Esplanade. Let it loose now. Touching 243 kilometres.
Great closing speed there for Lowndes under brakes.
You'll be the pioneer on this oil, so you have to be cautious there, but push up close.
Campbell Little just warning Craig about that oil that Grant made mention of a moment ago. 51.1 fastest lap of the race for Garth Tander. It's a 240 km/h closing speed into that turn 7 chicane. Now at turn 8, these corners are all basically 80 km/h. Oh, someone went straight up the escape road at 8 then with a huge clip of pace. Just saw it through the background, and it's one of the Toll HSV cars. I'm assuming that was Rick. Yes. Throttle jammed. The throttle jammed.
Roger, saw that. Safe to continue, or do you need
So Lowndes will be peeling off. This is Kelly down the order now. Very lucky to survive that one. The throttle jammed on car number 1. Jamie Whincup, new fastest lap of the race. Let's listen to this one.
Yeah, spot on, Neil. Throttle jam for Rick Kelly. They're just working out whether they need to bring him in to try and work on that problem.
Clear, clear, watch it this way.
Nice stop. 51 even for Stephen Richards.
Remember, there's 2 parts of pit lane now for the V8s here. They exit their pit lane at 40 Ks. Now they join the Champ Car pit lane. 104 kilometres. Now he can rejoin the racetrack on that line.
Tander's margins out to 1.88 seconds now. Watch this. There goes Rick down the escape road. Didn't look quite so bad from that angle. The other shot that we saw looking from turn 9 backwards, it looked pretty frightening. Now you could hear it. You could hear the engine in the background. So he's had to do a flick spin here.
Again, Stephen Richards posting good sector times. The leader, Garth Tander. Jamie Whincup, second, comes around turn 8. Russell Ingall, third. Courtney, fourth. Also coming into picture now, the Tasman Motorsport entry of Greg Murphy, fifth.
Well, Russell Ingall getting back to Stone Brothers on the radio saying he is over the moon with the car at the moment. The Falcon is firing for him. As a result, they're going to change his pit strategy. They're going to keep him out there, take advantage of the car running as hot as it is at the moment, and try and make up some ground in this race.
Pentax race cam tracking Garth Tander. So that leaves Jamie Whincup heading the field. Stopped all right. Pause in our camera there. But it was,
great job, mate. Watch your speed. It's going to be close to Lowndes on the exit. Good job.
So Courtney also went in. Greg Murphy also went in. Fastest lap of the race belongs to Stephen Richards, 150.73.
Lengthy stop for Ford Performance Racing Car 5, Mark Winterbottom, to repair some damage in their pit stop to the rear bumper. Tim Edwards, the team boss, is sending an email to officials wondering which car, please review, which car hit ours in the rear. Frosty's not sure. They want to know who's responsible.
Starting to see some speed now. Stephen Richards, as you said, 50.7 that lap. Remember the new lap record set yesterday at 49. Very, very fast for Jamie Whincup, 49.9 I think it was. And they're burning fuel down at the rate of about 2.5 kilos a lap. They started with, depending on how much you're burning, obviously around here, between 70 and 80 kilos of fuel. This is the race leader.
Nice work, Jamie. Nice work. Another one like that, please, mate.
Jason Richards in pit lane.
Watch your pit lane speed.
So too Jason Bargwana.
Go, clear, mate, clear.
Stephen Richards is going to get the bad sportsmanship flag for constantly hitting the tyre bundles in car number 6. So that's a warning. If you weren't with us yesterday, you may be unfamiliar with the pit lane speed limit for the V8s in their half of the lane is 40 k's as per normal, but when they transit the Champ Car pit lane, they're permitted to run up to 105 k's, which works out perfectly because top speed with this diff ratio in first gear is 104 k's, so you drive down the second half, this area we're looking at here now, at exactly 104 kilometres an hour, flat out in first gear. And then once you cross that yellow line, you're released and away you go, but you can make a straight line entry, or in fact you must make a straight line entry into the first chicane.
Shane Van Gisbergen and some of the Jack Daniels cars also going through. So Rick Kelly, after that off at turn 8, he's in 23rd position.
After that last lap move on Murphy yesterday for 4th, Russell Engel is so confident in his car at the moment. He is about to come in. The boys are out ready to accept him for his compulsory pit stop. What jammed him yesterday, they said this car speed potentially was a top 2 car, but they had a 5-second slow stop with a gun that jammed. Plus, of course, as we spoke about earlier, they brought him in too early. Will this be the strategy that moves him up the order further? He is happier than he's ever been.
So good news on that half of the garage, but for James Courtney, for a pit lane speeding infringement, he's going to serve a drive-through penalty, black flag.
Just watching Mark Scafe come into the pit entry, much cleaner than Russell Engel, who got completely sideways on that kitty litter stuff. Talking of Mark Scafe, the boys bringing him in now. They won't want any other problems with this car. They've run out of bits and pieces after the repairs overnight. If they have any more damage to the right front suspension components, control arms, they'll have to dig into the Bahrain toy box, and they don't want to do that.
Now into the Champ Car pit lane.
He nearly reached for second gear there, which is his instinctive response. That was funny. He had to stop and think about it. If he had grabbed second, he'd been all sorts of strife then. He didn't.
So much easier when there's a pit lane limiter button.
Yeah. Well, it's just an instinctive thing. You release the button and away you go.
So Scafe's back on course. On the road leader is Jamie Whincup. Stephen Richards, Todd Kelly, Steve Owen, John Bow and Jack Perkins yet to pit.
Well, it's been great debate in the Team Vodafone garage about when is the right time to bring Jamie Whincup in. Now, he is on a flyer at the moment, but it looks like they will bring him in the next lap or so. They've played the right strategy so far. He's
actually making margin at the moment, and very, very good speed in the first sector. Not quite as quick in his second sector, but they've been encouraging him with every lap to keep on making that gap. Good clean air, looking after the tyres, particularly the right rear, and looking after the brakes, which is an issue at this track. Okay, and in he comes.
Gotcha. Watch the oil into pit lane. CPS light off. Lever in the up position. Rear tyres only. Nice and easy into the box, please.
Kevin May, crew chief.
It's a great view on the Pentax Flycam. Now down to ground level.
Clear. Watch your pit speed.
It's pretty efficient.
Okay, Jamie, cold rears. Make sure you watch your speed in the Champ Car pits, mate. Courtney's just been done, so nice and smooth through there.
Let's keep our eyes on the Team Vodafone car and Garth Tander coming down the main straight. So there's Tander. Now out comes Whincup. His teammate Craig Lowndes behind him.
And they're locked in battle, and now Jamie with cold rear tyres. It'll take about a lap or two for those tyres to come up to temperature and pressure. In the meantime, that speed that Tander's showing early in the race has put him in good shape. He did a 50.2, 1 minute 50.2 on that last lap. Fastest lap of the race so far. Getting perilously close. Oh, problem there. Missed a gear for Jamie Whincup, I'd say, or it's jumped out of gear. All of a sudden, Lowndes had to jump to the right and nearly nailed the back of his team.
No worries. Keep it cool. We've got some nice rear tyres on now.
Craig Lowndes has had to become the master of evasive action lately, this time with his teammates. So out of turn 3, right here, look at that.
Yeah, I think I'm guessing it's either jumped out of gear or he's missed a gear. I saw the taillights flick on. I wonder whether he bumped the pit lane speed limiter for some reason with his hands. I've seen that done on occasion, but we'll try and get to the bottom of that one for you. Meantime, Garth Tander, handsome sector splits at the moment for car number 16. Good start to the weekend yesterday.
You never really want to overrule the team. The team seemed to think that he just missed the shift from second to third gear, Jamie Whincup, for that close encounter with Lowndes. But normally what happens, Neil, as you know, is when you actually put the speed lane pit limiter on, the telltale sign that it's on is the rear LED lights flick on and off, and you can see them graphically right in front of Lowndes, and that's exactly what was happening. So it looks like he's just hit the limiter, hit the pit lane speed limiter.
Yeah, unless he grabbed the brake pedal for some reason as well, but I'm not sure. Yeah, look, it looked to me like they flicked on for sure, but we'll certainly find out more about it. On board here with Stephen Richards, turning northbound now on the back straight. This is the Esplanade, and it's a fantastic bit of road this, because you can really break deep into here. The approach speed is 240 k's, and it's faster at turn 5 than 6, so you can break all the way to that apex and then second gear and slide it up to the wall. Fourth, and then eventually a fifth gear approach. 230, 240 odd k's here, depending on tyre condition. About 115, 120 k's minimum speed through turn 7. Building again to 200 k's for the blind approach to turn 8. There's a manhole cover and a bit of paint. You can't see round the corner. Slider up to the wall, second gear, briefly third, back to second, concrete patch, bump. Turn 9, 80 k's. Turn 10, 80 k's. Still second gear. Slider up to the wall, that's where Scafe went up. Third, back to second, turn 11, then 12. Carry a bit of speed across this apex, float it out wide. Third, fourth, very easy on the throttle here. And building to the peak speed on this racetrack of 260 odd kilometres an hour for the blind approach to turn 1. Second gear through 1 is 80 k's. Then it's back to 155 k's, back to second gear. 90 k's here through the turn 2 chicane complex. Car 7 bad sportsmanship flag, also clobbering the Apex tyres.
It was a pretty wild ride for Steve Owen, Jack Perkins, and the Tola HSV car of Garth Tander. Came zooming through at the exit of turn 8, and meanwhile at 8, we've got Craig Lowndes.
In the wall. Did he tag the wall then? It looked like it, didn't it? Something weird happened there. We'll need to have a look at that one, but that was very strange. Suddenly, weird rhythm in Lowndes' car as Richards comes in.
Go. CPS light off, Just remember cold rear tyres. You're looking out for Scafe, and Holdsworth. Okay.
They're trying to have Stephen Richards rejoin, looking at coming around Scafe and Lee Holdsworth. Oh dear, there's a problem.
Just trying to work out what it is.
Well, you don't know. The rest of us have got no idea. It's a bizarre little incident for Craig Lowndes. Still not sure if he tagged the wall or not at 8. Jamie Whincup has done the fastest lap of the race, 150.167. This will explain it. Down to the Falcon tyres turn. Big slide from Lowndes. Just missed the tyre barrier. May have got it just on reverse.
Gee, that was costly. Just couldn't get it in at 8. And this is what we picked up earlier, and we're very puzzled by it. He was very lucky not to get clobbered here. And on he goes, but that will have hurt. We're kind of theorising that there might have been something to do with some steering bits on the road there, but I don't really have a good handle on it at all.
Steve Owen in the Autobahn entry is desperately trying to hold on here with Garth Tander, who's already done his pit stop. Owen hasn't. Tander just muscling his way around this circuit at turn 12.
Rick Kelly in danger here of not scoring points in this race. He's down in 23rd as Steve peels off. Todd, meantime, who was leading the race, has been processed and out. So that only leaves this man. Well, there he is. He's in now.
CPS light off.
We nearly saw another repeat performance of Steve Richards. Todd Kelly came in there. That oil and kitty litter sent him completely sideways. A very lucky Todd Kelly.
And for Craig Lowndes, the reason for his spin, too much rear brake bias. As the fuel load comes off on these cars, you constantly have to wind it towards the front for proper braking efficiency. He hadn't moved it forward nearly enough for that component sitting on the road. Looks like someone's anti-roll bar componentry.
There we go. So, oof. Jamie Whincup on Jack Perkins between turns 3 and 4 there, and another car down the road at turn 8, this time Andrew Jones. The people having trouble pulling them up there for various reasons.
So the order will be corrected now. Garth Tander has crossed the control start-finish line. Jamie Whincup will join him. Tander gets the lead of the race back.
Up the back straight, mate. Looks like you just braked a bit late.
Not easy to grab reverse sometimes in these cars either. You don't have to venture terribly far off the racing line for there to be very little in the way of grip. That only makes the problem you've got even bigger. Jack Perkins is actually second still at the moment. He's yet to have taken the compulsory stop, but any tick of the clock he'll be in.
Whincup already got around him, so it's actually a true race. Perkins will pull off. Ingle is third.
So emerging is an interesting pressure race between Garth Tander and Jamie Whincup.
Check that out. Watch this. There's Russell. There's his mate, Murph. Bring it on again. And there's Jason Richards,
who's ended up a little stronger today after the changes they made to their car last night. Jason was down the order in 10th after race 1, so this is quite a reasonable recovery for him at the moment in 6th. And he'll be much happier about being able to run with the pace that Murph is showing in the number 51 car.
You can see Jack Perkins is still there. He's at the front of that group of Ingle, Murphy, Richards. Whincup further up the road, and further still Garth Tander.
Matty, on the way to the circuit this morning, we bumped into Greg Murphy and we talked about the stoush that they had at the end of the race yesterday. And Ingle said, when I tried to get past you in that turn, he said, I thought you were going to stop and prop me. I reckon Ingle might have that in the back of his mind if Murph tries to move, eh?
A little bit of pressure on Jack Perkins here at the moment. Russell's really hustling, and he needs to because he's got the Tasman cars right behind. And I was about, oh, there's going to be trouble here because Richards makes contact with Jack.
So at the end of all that, Greg Murphy's probably the biggest winner, because look at the gap now. He's right up on the rear of Russell Ingle. Perkins has effectively been pushed out of the way. And yet again, Ingle finds Greg Murphy hot on his hammer.
And Jack now peeling off for his stop. So his tyre condition would have been pretty poor at that point too. So that was a little heart-in-mouth moment for all concerned. I was going to say it was a useful exercise for Jack to just get a bit of a reference on how the other cars are behaving, and also just how these more senior drivers hustle around a track like this. And there's a little bit of time in understanding and knowing this racetrack.
Positions 3, 4 and 5 are on your screen now. Ingle, Murphy, Jason Richards. Got a full download of all your sport on bigpondsport.com.
Jamie Whincup did a very quick sector split to the end of the first sector, which is just past turn 4 on this 12-turn complex on this lap. So he actually took about 0.6 of a second out of Garth. So we're about 10 laps to go. This one is heating up, and I reckon that Whincup could have a little bit of pace in the back end here as well. It's interesting beyond it too, because we've got Lowndes, who dropped to 6th as a result of the mistake. Then Holdsworth, Stevie Richards, Todd Kelly, good recovery from the back of the grid. His teammate Mark Scafe, Jason Bargwana in the WPS entry 11th, Max Wilson, his teammate in the WOW entry 12th, Cam McConville, John Bow, Shane Van Gisbergen. That's your top 15. 3.3 seconds officially that gap now, Tander to Whincup. Now these guys are going to be very mindful of hot air from the preceding car, heating up the radiator water temperatures and also critically heating up brake temperatures. Got to be extremely careful.
Doesn't seem as though it'll be too far away before Lowndes joins this little battle pack. Give you an idea of where they are. So these guys have just exited turn 4, and our race leader Tander is up to turn 6.
James Courtney, who served that drive-through penalty for the pit lane speeding infringement, is down in 20th.
FPR not happy, boys. Mark Winterbottom at the moment complaining bitterly that Rick Kelly is all over the road. Slow as, I need to get past him. FPR have just gone next door to have a talk to the boys at Toll to see if there's something that can't be done.
Kelly 21st, Winterbottom 22nd. That's the spot at turn 8. It's put a lot of people unstuck. In both categories, in most of the categories we've had here this weekend. So the last time around for Tander and Whincup, it was 3.3 seconds. This time it's 2.9.
Yeah, it's 2 laps in a row that Jamie's taken a big chunk of time away from Garth. Still a fair margin at the moment. Russell's a little further back than I reckon he probably expected to be after his run yesterday. And here's this little battle we were talking about before where Whincup is trying to round up Rick Kelly. Winterbottom's trying to round up Rick Kelly. And these guys at the moment out of the points, but obviously fighting for grid position for race number 3. So it's 21st and 22nd. Saying that Winterbottom behind you is for position. So new fast split to the end of the first sector for Jamie Whincup again at 49.1 and 3/10 faster to the same point than Garth Tander. So he'll continue to shrink what's nearly a 3-second margin. It's looking rearward from the bumper of Rick Kelly's car. Car number 11, bad sportsmanship flag, Jackie Perkins for clobbering those tyres, and Winterbottom very close at turn 3 to the back of Rick. And fast second sector split for Whincup. Again, nearly 3/10 quicker than Garth Tander to that point. So he'll get that margin down to about 2.6 seconds, I reckon, at the end of this lap.
Rick Kelly's only finished out of the points in 2 races.
Point in the race, the fuel loads are down, but tyre conditions also down, so that's a great speed. This is Craig Lowndes on Jason Richards. We're looking at 6th and 5th. Oh, and we're looking at a mistake for Lowndes. And now Richards in here as well with Holdsworth. Is there a problem for Lowndes? And car number 7, Shane Price, is going to get a black flag for a pit lane drive-through penalty.
Lowndes has gone from 6th at the start of this lap.
Now we saw it happen. Just nice and smooth.
He must have got a bit of a helping hand.
This may explain it. So this is earlier at turn 1. Jason Richards went off.
See, what Craig's done is pull up here to address the fact that he didn't want to make an illegal pass, but what that did was invite Lee into the picture. And that's the reason why it all of a sudden went out of sync. See, if he'd gone straight ahead, he would have tripped over the tyre bundle there at the apex. And then here comes Lee, car 33 in the Valvoline entry. Wow. So just in all that frantic action for ignoring the bad sportsmanship flag, Shane Price is going to get a drive-through penalty. He's in 16th at the moment and will tour the pit lane.
2.3 seconds, the difference. Contact there for Mark Winterbottom. Onto Rick Kelly, 20th versus 21st. We're looking out of the back of Rick's car. That was up at turn 12, just a little nudge.
The lead duo is skipping away a little bit from Russell Ingall. It's 10.7 seconds from Whincup back to Russell now, but Russell's definitely not out of the war zone either, because Murphy's keeping a watching brief there. Code on the rear bumper of Rick Kelly on occasion. Mark Winterbottom just in those slow second gear corners, just to try and unsettle him, keep him honest.
So that's what happened to Lowndes around at turn 5 and 6. He shot through the grass, got a little bit unstuck, and then
it doesn't look like it was too solid, so he managed to pick up the wiper at that time, and Roland Dane in the background there. What's all this about?
The FPR boys are yelling out in frustration at the moment, and also in anticipation, hoping he can actually get past Rick Kelly. But with an $80,000 repair bill and up until 1 a.m, one of the mechanics just yelled out after watching a replay of a nudge, he better not wreck our car. We don't have any bits left.
For illusory bodywork, you've got a mechanical black flag. Once you just pull up or tape it up, so make your way.
For Craig Lowndes, mechanical black flag, loose rear bodywork for Lowndes, so that's critical. He's down in 9th. This will take him out of the points, I think. And so with Rick Kelly and with Craig Lowndes hurt in this race, hurt in terms of results, then Tander and Whincup are at the top of the tables, 2.5 seconds between them. That's good news for their championship campaign.
Patchwork job on the Ford credit. Falcon 19th versus 20th. James Courtney ahead of them. Behind them, Will Davison.
Very difficult for Winterbottom in that hot air, and also blinded by the previous car. Makes it a little difficult to pick up your reference point for your braking and your ideal turning point, your clipping point at the corner. They know, they're experienced enough, and they do enough of it that they know how to handle racing nose to tail, but it still makes it tricky, especially around this track where many of the corners are quite blind. This, believe it or not, is a spirited battle for 18th, 19th and 20th. Not in the points, but defending their individual honour and trying to get a grid spot for race 3 this afternoon.
A super solid defence too of that honour from Rick Kelly, because he's got a lot of push and shove from Winterbottom.
James touched the wall.
So Craig Lowndes was top 6. Not anymore.
I have to say I'm not a huge fan of the number of mechanical black flags for relatively small damage, and we've either got to end up in a situation where the cars are more bulletproof in terms of cracks and crevices that appear, or there needs to be some more discussion about the rule. But it just seems to me that there hasn't been what I would regard as substantial damage on the back of these cars, and I'll be very certain of the fact that after this race there'll be some spirited discussions about it.
Well, Lee Holdsworth has been back into the garage. Gary Rogers brought the car in. They worked on it. He hit the wall, bent the steering, and also had a puncture. They did it in the garage, just got him back out on the circuit. He's back out there and holding on to a good position in the top 10.
Mark, over the course of that last lap, Garth Tander actually pulled away a little bit from Whincup. It's now 2.5 seconds.
Jamie had a big understeer just down at turn 3 then.
12.6 to the car behind, mate.
And that second number significant because he's pulled away from Russell. I don't think he's got much more left in it now. He's probably used the best in that tyre set to get to where he is, 2.5 seconds down the road from Garth.
Jamie's second in race 1, online for second in race 2. Here comes Ingle and Murphy, joined at the hip this weekend for 3rd and 4th.
Even though they've had their, they've had the 1 or 2 arm wrestles over the years together, and had a bit of ag here and there, I think there's quite a high degree of respect. Yesterday, I think they privately both enjoyed their race. It was a terrific race. And Todd Kelly, meanwhile, has got some issues. I think he's going to actually come in. He's 7th at the moment. He says if he doesn't come in, he'll probably hit the fence. Speaking of hitting, there's a bit of it going on here at the moment between Winterbottom and Kelly. And at the moment, I think Mark Winterbottom's starting to get a little frayed round the edges because behind him is Will Davison, and he's going to get a run on here. He could round him up. It's been done here before at turn 5. No, not this time.
Kind of see it coming. Davison's been waiting and waiting and waiting to have a crack. Wrong place, wrong time for that one.
I think Mark has been getting a bit frustrated in there behind Rick, but they're fighting for position. And race control have been looking, but they've deemed that there is no blocking, so the onus then comes back to Mark to be able to round him up, and that won't be pleasing him at the moment. So look at that margin between the two of them now.
What it's done, it's released Rick Kelly, of course, but it's still in 17th position, so that puts Kelly within 2 spots of claiming some points.
Well, not good news for Todd Kelly. It looks like he's hit the wall. The team is saying bent steering arm and a flat tyre. They're really confused here. They were going to put him in the garage, then they pulled him up in pit lane. They're going to work on it and see if they can get Todd Kelly back out there.
Bad sportsmanship flag for Garth Tander for consistently hitting tyres. So 3 seconds the margin, Tander to Whincup now as they replace the front left on Todd Kelly's car. He was 7th. It's the replay of the problem on the front left-hand corner. Was that as a result of contact or some other issue?
Stephen and Jason Richards.
This is 6th to 5th.
No, that's for Jason.
Richards, but no relation. And he gets it.
Great effort from Stephen Richards, and finally some light of this gloomy weekend for FPR. Stephen up to 5th after starting from the rear of the grid.
Significant, though, that Tander got a warning there. That means he's got no more warnings, so he's going to be very careful about touching those tyre bundles, or he could give the race to Whincup.
It's 3.2 seconds. There is a lap car in between them. It's there, Paul Morris in car 67. The team Sirame Wines car started from pit lane.
Todd Kelly's reporting the 22 cars steering badly, which you'd expect. He must have made contact somewhere, even though they've replaced that wheel. That's why he wanted to get out of the car, and that'll probably drop him outside the 15 again, which is why he would have wanted to get out of the car.
So Paul allows Jamie Whincup to go on through. This is more aggro between Mark Winterbottom and Will Davison.
That was the previous lap. Car 888 has had another radio report, loose rear bodywork, that the repair work wasn't effective, and they're going to have another look at that, so he may have to come back through the lane again. I just don't agree with that. But I'm not in race control.
Craig Lowndes down in 23rd. Gary Rogers Motorsport, car number 33 of Lee Holdsworth.
Tander's home free here now, 3.2 seconds. He's actually kept a very consistent pace, and if anything, Jamie's just lost a bit of zing. and I don't think either of them are likely to do anything risky at this point. There's Todd. Where is he on my computer? Way down the order. So just battling at the moment. Scafe. Such a difficult weekend for those guys. Something for his trouble though for Scafe in 8th position. For Todd down in 26th. They are going to let car 888 continue. However, for Lowndes, he's down in 24th, so it's small mercy.
Jason Bargwanna's moved up 14th to 7th. Mark Scafe started 17th. He's 8th.
.6 seconds, that little air gap that you see between 16 and 88. So 2 out of 2 in the making here for Garth Tander.
He's already had 2 clean sweep weekends. The first one in WA, the second in Queensland.
He'd jump up to 3rd in the points after yesterday's race, up to 458. And he was only 4 points behind Craig Lowndes, who's now down in 24th position. So this is going to put him in pretty good shape to get right up in touch with Jamie Whincup at the top of the championship.
So Garth Tander brings it around turn 12. Started it on pole position, took out race 1. When he's on a roll, he is
checkered flag, mate. Awesome.
very, very hard to stop. Tander takes out race 2. Whincup is 2nd. Ingle and Murphy once again in a battle for 3rd and 4th. Russell Ingle 3rd. Murph gets 4th. Stephen Richards comes through in 5th. And here's Jason Bargwanna. Jason Richards has already crossed the line in 6th. Bargwanna collects 7th. Great fight back from Mark Scafe to be inside the top 10, 8th.
Just pleased to get away with no damage in that one for that 8th position. Just finally get that car across the line and they can get back and start thinking about settings and adjustments rather than repairs.
So Garth Tander has once again got on a roll that they've found very, very hard to pull back. Go back 27 laps. One of the most crisp and clean starts we've seen all season. Just fired out of the box. He won 3 out of 3 in WA. He won 2 out of the 3 in New Zealand. 2 out of the 3 in Winton. Another clean sweep in Queensland. And the first 2 races here at the Gold Coast Surfers Paradise Street Circuit.
It's been a good recovery of speed from both the Tasman Motorsport cars. Just in recent rounds, they're in the game now, aren't they? They're solidly performing for Holden. Garth Tander making sure that he keeps those tyres clean for race 3. Very easy to get what's described as a lot of pickup on the tyres. It looks like a whole lot of little cigars that roll up on the tyre, little balls of rubber. Here's the confirmation of placings on the Super Cheap Auto scoreboard. 3.3 seconds was the margin at the end of it all. After great pressure from Jamie Whincup, but he couldn't close the deal at the end. Another great run for Russell Ingle, very consistent. Greg Murphy also in 4th. Richards, Stephen and Jason, unrelated 5th and 6th. Bargwanna, Scafe, Wilson, McConville, the top 10. Good run for John Bowe in his last run on the Gold Coast, 11th. Look at Rick Kelly down there in 16th, not quite getting in for the point. James Courtney, the drive-through, really hurt him. And Mark Winterbottom frustrated that he couldn't make ground. And look at Craig Lowndes, the last one on the lead lap, down in 24th position after the drive-through penalty to deal with that bodywork.
So Tander gets another 24 points. He's got 48 for the weekend. Whincup has 40. But interesting to note there that the guys who are 3rd and 4th in the championship, Craig Lowndes and Rick Kelly, miss out on the points for that race. The bank so far for Lowndes is 17. The bank for Rick Kelly is 11. So the championship point spread reads like this. Whincup now on 501. Tander on 482. Lowndes 462. And Rick Kelly on 454.
He was still tethered to the car.
Got Garth Tander here, boys. Garth, congratulations. The championship is back on track.
Oh yeah, still a long way to go. That's the best way about fighting back, isn't it? Win some races. Just Jamie keeps finishing second, it makes it harder. But you know, car was really good in that one. Another great stop by the guys, and one more to go.
It's always a handy thing to. I mean, it sounds like a silly thing to say, but to start from the front row of this joint is a godsend.
It is. Makes a big difference. If you get a good jump and try and run away before the pit stops, makes a huge difference. So we tried to do, and it worked in that one. But we'll see what happens in the last race.
Pretty tough place on brakes. We tried a different thing at Bathurst. It didn't come off. We're back to our normal brake package. Yeah. How are the brakes here?
Oh, look, no doubt everyone's suffering here with brakes. It's so hot here and the braking so hard here that it's hard on the brakes. But, you know, if you stay in front, you get clean air, it's better for the brakes.
Good luck in the next one.
Thank you.